Hey y'all, welcome back to Poppin Awf. This is episode
Ew.
2. So we're just gonna go ahead and just clink.
Clinkety clinks.
Woo.
Woo! I'm red. I'm red to go.
Okay, so today's episode, we wanted to come through and, chop it up about whether or not men can show emotions. Like, is it okay for them to show their emotions? And the reason why I say that is because oftentimes, especially on social media, whenever men get vulnerable and they start opening up and they start sharing, some intimate details about themselves that might evoke some type of emotion, might even make them shed a tear or two. It's like, exactly. You got women in the right, exactly. You got women in the comments that just can't let men really show that. And I've always found it very interesting because, like, one of the main things that I see that we complain about, I'm guilty as well, is that a man can't communicate or he can't feels. So I'm just wondering, okay, Marsh,
Yes.
what is your take on that? Let's start there.
First of all, I love that you made the connection between men not being allowed societally, with all these implications and whatnot, to express their feelings and communication. I would at first, you would think, I would have thought you were going to say that's why they don't know how to express themselves emotionally, in a relationship. But overall, it just affects overall, it just affects their ability to communicate, period. Because first of all, they feel policed. I feel like, how many men do we know have guy friends where if they go through something right now, they got guys that will really come up and be like, yo, what's up? What's going through your mind right now? How you feeling? Did you eat today? You know what? They got what they gonna do? Hey, bro, you want to play 2K? Like, it's literally a joke,
Exactly.
Where it's like, well, you got some bitches, like they don't really, at least, and we're not saying all, but the great majority, and especially the way it's depicted in like film and media, they're, guys with each other aren't even that emotional, especially because, like, I don't understand why that is, but it's always perceived as some like feminine trait, or it comes off so feminine that it might threaten their sexuality if they choose to show emotion.
Yep.
So honestly, it's trash. It's trash, but it's like, I can't lie. I've definitely been guilty of perpetuating that narrative my damn self. Because if you see a nigga crying and showing it, you're okay. Well, we're both from like mental health background, so we're gonna be like, oh my gosh, she's having a breakthrough.
Exactly.
But most people are gonna be like, he okay? Like, is
Why
he
crying like that? Why are you crying?
Are crying? Like, someone must have died. Did someone die? No one died?
Nobody died.
Depression. I think they ain't depressed, and then it goes back to how in general we make a mockery of like mental health, right, in our communities.
Absolutely. And I just find it really interesting because it's like I said, back to the communication piece, and you're right. Society plays a large role on how men are developing and how they come up through adolescence, the childhood, the whole thing, right? To the point when they get old enough, they just can't express themselves because they've never been given the room or the space to.
Permission, right?
Right. And I think even from like the aspect of a relationship, I'm gonna ask you a question here. You just answer the way you see fit.
Ah, shit.
You're dating someone, it's going great. He, he starts to open up to you, he says some things, he starts to cry. I don't want, and it might be hard to dissociate kind of like your professional background from your personal in that instance, because we're both, we both have a background in mental health, but I want like the real Marsha reaction to that. Okay, let me set the mood again. So you're chopping it up, something happens, he gets into it, and like his emotion is crying, like he's shedding.
Did you see my face? I'm fucking stunned. First of all, what? And this is terrible because I come from a household where it was just me, my mom, and my brother. My brother being 10 years, older than me. And I remember crying on the floor and him stepping over me to go into the room. So I am not That's why I said I'm not saying I'm currently part of the problem. I'm, making adjustments and whatnot. But I guess it would depend on the conversation. But I would really be like, okay, I must have really presented myself as someone he can trust.
Right.
And but I would probably have a lot of like insert calculus going all over my face right now, because it's confusing because we don't see men open up. Like, one emotion we are used to seeing in them, and the only emotion that's ever been allowed. Go ahead, because I know you're gonna say it.
Anger.
Everything, literally, they're policed so bad, literally from when they're young, to man up, don't cry, wipe your tears, crying is that's for girls, or whatever. All the things that, these psycho ass parents say to their little boys or whatever, like stop crying, all this other stuff, to the point where they get so frustrated sitting on those feelings for so long that now they see that society only allows frustration and aggression. It's a manly quality. Yeah. Like fucking Godzilla, like every man needs to be beating his chest and shit. Like, so now anger is the only thing you see. And it's like, even when people are deeply saddened, they get angry because they didn't learn how to process sadness. So they skip right over and go to anger. So honestly, if a man were to start crying, I'd be like, holy shit, you need therapy. Because if you're crying about something, damn, oh my God. Like,
and I'm not, you know what? I cannot even say that I would respond differently, right? Again, back to our like professional backgrounds. Yeah. I know that I would respond to that differently, but I know that I wouldn't respond to that differently.
What's the circumstance? Because I feel like there's also times we allow men to be more emotional,
right?
Where it's a death. Oh, it's a death. Oh, okay.
That's different.
Oh, he lost his job and he's crying.
Right. Like, why
you gotta get back to figuring out how to be the bread maker.
Go exactly. Resume together, get back out there and do that. Whereas a woman, we're more gentle, we're softer. We try to really understand where it is that they're coming from, right? It just goes back to like you had mentioned, the process of socialization, telling them that they are to be tough and to be hardened on the outside, not display any of their emotions, all that type of stuff. And I think that back to your point about being angry, I do not want anybody watching this to, take this as, us bashing the emotion of anger. Anger is a very natural and solid type of emotion. And it's a valid emotion, right? It's how you respond to the anger that can make it problematic, right? And so, how you mentioned people just jumping over the feelings of sadness and going right into anger, especially in the Black community with Black men, it's the only emotion that they can that resonates with them, that they can express, right? And there's so many layers to it. So when we see, anger in our community, that is a whole heap of stuff. That is sadness, that is depression, that is, pain, that is hurt, that is loss, that is grief. It shows up as anger, but when we really sit somebody down and have a conversation with them, we see that there's so many different layers to it, right? And so, when we're talking about, having a significant other, I remember seeing a post on Facebook where it was like something along the lines of, if your man needed to open up to you, like, would you let him? And I was all in the comments like, are you dumb? Absolutely.
Right.
Like, if my man can't come to me and
where you going?
What's bothering him? What are you doing? Right. And that just goes back to my point earlier about communication.
Why was that even a question?
Listen, there's a lot of people that have, and people make memes and we just go ahead and repost them. I'm guilty of doing that as well. You know what I'm saying? But it's coming from a real genuine place, right? It's coming from a genuine place. So it's like, I don't know, like for me, I like you, I think I would respond very like,
gasp. Clutches imaginary pearls.
Like what's happening? But because I'm kind of learning about mental health and how it manifests and how it looks, especially for Black men, I'm like, nah, there's something deeper. Like, let's sit, let's
talk about this. Let's unpack that.
Unpack that. Let's see where your head's at.
Can you imagine all the things that men haven't been allowed to unpack just because of how it's socialized to even process your feelings. I mean, if you're talking about mental health in general, especially the Black community, we're screwed.
Absolutely.
We're screwed because, first of all, as soon as you tell someone you're seeking a therapist, they think you need a straitjacket ASAPidly. If you tell them you're on any kind of medication, they really think you need to be in the loony bin for good.
Right.
They don't really, there's already not a lot of allowance for that. But then you think about how there's another layer of suppression for Black men in general because of the way they process their feelings. It is sad. I can't imagine having a son and telling my son, stop crying. Like when he is just sad. But then it's like, when do you instill in them, hey, chin up. Like, when is it okay? And I don't know. Neither of us have children. Neither of us have little boys or anything like that. But I do wonder what that's going to be like. But you know, the thing is, a lot of people like to think that you can socialize or raise somebody into being gay. You can't, people. You literally can't raise a child to be gay. You can't, just because they talk about their feelings does not mean your son is now going to be gay because you're letting him cry over something that made him sad. He's 4.
Right.
He's 4.
Exactly. Like, he's gonna be soft. And like, just for example, I sent you something earlier today, right? Before we got on here. And this was well planned in advance, that this was the topic we were doing this week. But I came across this post on the Melanin Shade Room, and somebody had tweeted yesterday, my aunt was telling my son, don't cry, you're a man. I said, no, he can cry. It's okay. My son is 8 years old. He can fucking cry. Men at 8 cry. Stop ruining young boys so y'all can hate them later for it.
Sis, men at 28 cry.
This is what I'm saying. And so when you're working with you know, the younger population, and I've been fortunate enough to work in primary schools, right? And that's really the age where I want to say like grade 4, 5-ish, where if we can't really get to our boys early enough and tell them that it's okay to feel their feelings and process and express them positively, this is where we lose them. Because by the time they hit 8th or 9th grade, they've already settled into that. They've already become very hardened, right? And I think it just comes from a place where us as future parents and just parents in general and the Black community in general really need to give our children space, right, to express those emotions.
They have to understand the breadth of emotions too. It's not just sad and anger. There's a lot of resentment. There could be a lot of different things until we learn how to really sit down with our kids. I mean, it's really not fair to police people the way we do, especially men. Okay, now I'm gonna throw a scenario at you.
Okay, let's go.
Since you wanted to hit me with one. You're at the movies with your boo thing, right?
Okay.
We're gonna call him 6'7" Kevin. You at the movies with 6'7" Kim, right?
I don't know where you get these names from, girl.
Actually, it was a joke from like way back when, 6'7" Kevin. Anyways, but you're at the movies with 6'7" Kevin.
Okay.
And mid-movie, it's a very delicate part of the movie, very, very touching. You're kind of like, but you don't necessarily cry, but you're like, oh my gosh. And you look over and he's crying more than you. How do you react?
Man.
And it's a movie.
Okay, so we're at the movies and there's a touching moment. First of all, I'm a big crybaby, so I'm gonna be crying just as much as he is, snot nose and all, right? But if he's crying and he's got like the boogies running too, I don't know. It's so bad. It's so bad because my natural reaction is like, yo, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, what is happening, right?
And I know, because I would have done the same thing.
It's just like, that's not like, I'm just not used to it, right? But what I can say is that, you know, I'm so flip-flop with this because like seeing men cry crushes me. Like it hits me.
Why?
It hurts because I know that for them to draw that emotion, that means that it has to have cut deep, because that's not No, like,
Ooh, see, it's just a thing. We keep saying we keep going back to it because even as women, we struggle with the fact that men are going to cry or should be able to cry
right.
almost just as much as we do. Because what is the difference? To
Yeah.
be honest, we were both thrown onto this creepy spear of a fucking planet with all the unknown woes that were to come to us, right? We as women are, oh, it's okay to, life is hard. Yes, sis, cry it out, eat your bonbons, call your girlfriend.
Right.
Niggas, what you crying for? Yeah, life is hard, but man up. What the fuck does that even mean? We're all trying to figure out what it means to be strong, yet men are expected to be the epitome of strength, and that is sad.
Absolutely.
It is sad. But you know what comes with that though? Coupled with it's something about not showing emotion that gets equated to strength. And looking like things don't bother you, you look like you're impenetrable. That's what it is, because we equate that to strength, and we don't really realize it takes a lot to feel your feelings. Feelings can be so overwhelming. Ooh. There's a reason why mental health is booming, okay? There's a reason why, well, social workers and counselors, they're not going anywhere no time soon because people got problems, baby. So it actually takes a lot more strength to confront your feelings, to confront your triggers, the trauma. And it's not fair to act as though men don't have trauma, especially a different kind of trauma, because we all know that the majority of the single parent households and Black families are single mother households. Absolutely. There's so much resentment that a lot of little boys carry up until they're grown men. And because they have to be the man of the house at fucking 4 or 5 years old, they also don't get to talk about their feelings. It's really fucked up. And I think and then people wonder, so let me get this right. Most women want a man to be in touch with their feelings enough to be there for them when they need emotional support. Correct. But that man can't break down.
Correct.
That's fucked up.
Don't cry around me. You lost your job? No. We don't cry. No. You get up, you go onto Google and you find yourself a job. Fix your resume, find yourself a job, get over it.
The thing is, if I'm being fair, if that were to happen, like let's say me and my man, 6'8" Drake, what you call it? We're in a relationship.
You have it.
He loses his job and he starts boohoo crying. Guess what? I will automatically feel insecure. I'm not even gonna hold you, because if I see you break down like that, I'm gonna think, oh shit, he doesn't have to get it. He doesn't have it together. I'm gonna lose a sense of security, because again, we socialize men to not have feelings, to have it together, to we're going to figure this out. And a lot of that does not involve the process of crying, which may be absolutely necessary. So I will be the first to say, it's hard. I have been a part of the problem, and I'm working on it, and I'm conscious of it. And if I am blessed to have that kind of relationship where my man feels comfortable to cry with me, I will never take that for granted. I would never emasculate him or make him feel like less of a man.
And that's what we do, right? And then you touched on something earlier about black boys, Black girls too. Black girls feel it. Little Black girls feel it when they're not, when they don't have the opportunity or are fortunate enough to grow up with their fathers. And this is why I'm huge on Black community, advancing through the foundation of the household. Like the Black family has to be held together, bro. Like that's the only way it's gonna happen. And young Black girls are going through it too. They're going through and what makes it worse too is when you have a father, you have a parent that's there, but they're not really there. I don't know which one's worse. It's like, if they're there and they're not really present and active versus them not being there at all.
I feel like I can speak to that because my biological parental sperm donor, that's what we will call him, he lived in another country and he can call me at any point in time. He just chose not to be there. So, I mean, as you can see, I don't even give him the honor of being called a father, but I can say growing up in a fatherless kind of situation, I was allowed to be sad. I was allowed to cry about it. I feel like my brother also didn't have, because we had two different dads. My brother also didn't have his dad around like that. And I feel like I've never seen my brother cry. I wonder, actually, crazy. I knew we were going to have this conversation, but I didn't even think about how much it applied to my own blood. This man, you know, you have to be some kind of up to see your baby sister crying on the floor and you step over her, because I was blocking the walkway, and go to your room. I literally this year, Claudz, and this shit tore me up. Sent him a long ass like text message trying to like bare my heart, because you know, obviously, you know, with my mom going through chemo, just all this other stuff, just finally trying to be at peace with him, and the way I've always kind of felt like I had to like do for his attention and affection, which transferred over to how I treat men and chase men, and how I also, this shit gets perpetuated because my brother never showed emotion. When a dude was too nice to me, I'd be like, that's foreign.
Absolutely.
That's not right. What are you doing? You want something from me. But my brother, I used to always feel like, okay, I would know when he cared. So I fell for the asshole types that looked like my brother, didn't show emotion like my brother, because I felt like, well, that's what I grew up with. That's normal. That's why it's so important to, like you were saying, to have the Black family together, or to have just good examples of Black men and women in our lives as young children grow up, because he was my example. And I sent him that long paragraph. He never even responded. And I got left on red. And that was the most heartbreak. I cried for the last time over that nigga. And I was like, you know what? You are emotionally constipated. Whatever the hell. And to be fair, I might have been there for 28 years of his 38 lives, but I don't even know the trauma he felt about not having a father around. I don't know what it was like for him at 10 years old to have to be a dad, because he literally took care of me from that age. And that's the problem. We have to allow, and I realized I wasn't having grace on my own brother, because so much gets put on their plates at a young age. Literally from 8. And I don't know who might have made that freaking post that you read about, like, my son's allowed to be that woman. She probably was in a single parent household. She probably could not deal with telling a little boy how to manage his emotions, afraid of making him too soft for the world, that she continued to perpetuate the same narrative. And it's fucked up. It's fucked up, because if we don't allow our partners to, you know, express themselves, how can we raise boys that know how to express themselves? If we decide to choose someone that thinks, nah, I don't talk about my feelings, that's gay.
Right.
I will not date anyone that ignorant.
I can't either. As you can see, I think we're very both. Oh my gosh, we're both very communicative, right? Like we like to talk and we like to express ourselves. I need to have someone who's equally yoked, right? I feel like, you know, I'm not necessarily too much of a crier myself per se, like always crying, you know.
I am.
I feel like I need to have someone who is okay with expressing that type of emotion around somebody that he can trust. Like, if he can't do that with me, I like cry. I need you to cry, because I need you to work through whatever those emotions are, so that we can get to where you need to go. So if you're crying,
I'll be damned. You come bitch slap me because you didn't sort your feelings out.
And this is what happens, because now we've bottled up these men's emotions, and they don't know how to express them. They don't even know the word. Look how hard it is to even communicate your feelings on a day-to-day, right? Much less growing up in a household where you've been suppressed, society suppresses you, your family suppresses you, you have no outlet. And so when you get into a situation where you are really trying to express yourself, you might slap somebody, not excusing, or storm off, right? Just not knowing how to communicate, because you haven't experienced how to do that.
You know what else happens? What happens when they don't feel comfortable enough to talk about their feelings? They're not angry enough to, you know, maybe hit your ass.
Yeah.
But what happens in our community more often than not, when people need a cope, what do they turn to? You over here drinking your problems away.
Absolutely.
Or you're chasing highs and you're gambling your problems away. And this is how the Black community falls behind time and time again, because we're turning to drugs. I know so many men that go through, I don't know, girl, not that I participate in, you know, the consumption of marijuana.
We ain't got to talk about that this segment.
I don't participate. But I know people that spend hundreds
Yep.
weekly.
Yep.
Because that's how they cope.
Yep. Yep. And
do you think they cry? You think they cry at night?
I think they have. I think they have. They may not cry every night, but I think they have. Because the thoughts, like your mind is a powerful place. The thoughts that you have are powerful. You can only I guess, medicate in this case for so long. For so long, like you're just either you're gonna cry or you're going to be angry and react a certain way. It'll come out. I feel like at the end of the day, your true self and what you're going through internally will always show up in the conversations you have, in the work that you do, in the way that you respond to people, the way that you talk. It'll show up. That's just how I feel about it.
It's just sad. It's sad that processing your emotions as a man, as a person in general, because this is something that men and women do where they just try to make it look like everything's just going fine or like life is perfect. That's why social media is such, I hate social media. And that's one thing I love about YouTube and about the fact that I can just put whatever I want on a channel. I love that I'm portraying something real. I'm not trying to only show people my good side, my good hair days when I fill in my eyebrows. I'm showing people everything. And it sucks that men don't feel like they have that freedom to show their more vulnerable moments. If a nigga starts crying on a YouTube video, you might be like, okay, you trying to get views?
Right.
You trying to get pussy?
What's wrong?
What's the objective? Yeah. But we can do something about that.
Yeah. Why does it always have to be like, something's wrong with him for exhibiting that emotion? It just doesn't correlate. And like I said, I think we both admitted that we're guilty of it. But I think the first step, because I think you asked like how, right? The first step I think is to acknowledge the role that we've played in the perpetuation of, yes, right? Like that's where we have like the indications of toxic masculinity when we're talking about it, right? The result of how we reach that is because we're telling them to suppress their feelings and emotions. So if you sit back and you reflect and you're like, yo, you know what, how have I contributed to this, right? Mm-hmm. I think that's the first step. And I think we both have acknowledged the role that we play in that. I think that is absolutely vital. And then looking to see how we can be of support, because, and this isn't to shit on women who, experience what they experience. And I'm saying, mm-hmm, right, go through your feelings, you know what I mean? Seek the supports that you need, right? But this is a subject area that like it has made headway, and I'm not going to sit up here and say that, more men haven't come forward about maybe their traumas and their abuses that they've suffered in the past and like literally breaking down and having those moments, but we need more of those spaces. We need more of those spaces for that to happen. So that's how I would, start that healing process for them, is just by acknowledging the role that we play in perpetuating that. Because I want a man who communicates, and I have to be able to take him in all of his communication glory, right? I can't have him when he's happy, right? I can't just have him when he's bringing in money, right? I can't just have him, especially if I'm talking about like somebody long-term and building. If you need to cry, I need you to come cry to me, and let's figure this out. Let it out.
Right there. Right on the boobies. I mean, mine might slide. He might slide down. It's okay. I'll hold you up. I will say that I had a coworker who I never knew men could really be emotional. And I'm proud of myself because I freaked out internally. Like, this motherfucker really crying. But on the outside, I was understanding. I was there. And it really opened my eyes to like, hey, men really do have feelings too. And sometimes they and he didn't give me any eye contact. He would like, his eyes would be bloodshot and he wouldn't admit like, he was just crying. But when he like finally would just like kind of like break down, he just like, I realized it was a lot for him to work through. And it's just like, damn, he, beyond the pain that he felt entrapped in, he was really breaking through is it okay to actually feel my feelings? And that's the sad part. Yeah. But I feel like you said, if we can continue to create those spaces, have honest conversations, I'm like you, I'm sure I'm words too, girl. Okay. But if we can have more honest conversations and really look in the mirror and realize, why do we think it's okay to police people on their feelings? Why do we feel less secure if a man's crying? Like, we can cry too. We should be able to empathize. And that's where it comes. I think that's what it boils down to. Yeah. Empathy.
Empathy's huge, and it's one of those things that, you know, I'm working through as well with, you know, school and everything else that I'm trying to do is just really work on that empathy piece and the validation, right? Just saying that
Mhm.
it's okay for someone to feel how they're feeling. It's normal. Like, can we normalize men crying? Like, is that okay? You know what I mean? Like can we work on building some normalcy around that, right? Them being vulnerable. I think it's important. That's the only way we're gonna grow, because at the end of the day, like, men are, you know,
Human.
they're human, and they go through a lot with everything that's out there in society. Like, they have a huge load to carry,
Burden.
right? Just to carry. So I think we all need to do our part just as much as we're there for our women. And I will always be down for the cause, to rock for women, to protect women, all of that. But I think there need to be more platforms where we are showing allegiance that way as well to our men, to let them know that we got them, to let them know that it's cool, to let them know that, yo, you know what? Cry. It's
Listen,
okay. It's okay.
whether your child was just born, you just lost somebody, or you just lost the game in 2K. If you need to cry, motherfucker, you can cry. But just make sure, if I need you to beat somebody's ass or you need to protect this household, you can protect this household, okay?
That part. And I think there's a balance there. Like, can't I I can't be with somebody who's crying all the time and not doing anything about it. I think there's levels to this shit, right?
Oh
Like,
yeah.
I appreciate a man who's open and honest and can communicate his feelings, thoughts, emotions, all that good stuff. Cry, break down, have your stuff. But just like with me, because I take pride in my ability to, like, work through my shit and overcome it, that's what I want to be to my man. Like, I don't want you sitting there crying all the time and not necessarily, because that's not productive. That's counterproductive. You know what I'm saying?
I'm not even gonna think it's okay.
It's not.
I'm gonna listen.
If that goes beyond me, then maybe you need to seek professional help, and that's cool. But I cannot work in that environment, because now you bring in the energy. No.
She said no. As much as I cry, I just you just have to cry at least like 90% less than I do. Like, that's a I hate to quantify and be like, okay, you used your cries for the month. What are you doing?
Good, you a lot of cries. No, but I'm saying, like, you know, it's just like,
we're joking.
Yeah, we're definitely, but it's just like you don't. It's you know, it's just like you don't want a man who lacks ambition, right? Or your the other types of qualities, right? Like, I need you to be proactive. I need you to feel your feelings, right? Lean on me for that support, and let's work through it. Let's work through something, right? It's got to be an end goal. We got to be doing something with that. So
agreed. Yeah. So, men, if you have to let it cry, you know, definitely. I feel like it's important for men out there that may be watching. Find someone you trust. Find someone that won't judge you. Find someone that won't perpetuate that ignorant narrative that men can't feel their feelings. You got feelings too, and be secure in your sexuality to know that it's okay to express your emotions. It doesn't make you gay. It doesn't make you feminine. It makes you a human being going through things. So it's okay to cry. I think we hit on all the points today, Boo.
It's okay to cry. And so I guess on that note, we're out.